Welcome back, familia, to Northside LDN, caramba. And today we've got news. The next Haaland looks like he's coming to Arsenal. The next this and that. We're going to be talking about Naglesmann potentially being the next Tottenham manager. We also got Brahim Diaz being linked to Arsenal as well as a potential signing for the summer. And we've got news also concerning Pepe. Is his future going to be at Arsenal? Is it going to be at Nice? Are we going to sell him to Nice? Apparently, they may be willing to take him off our hands. So we've got that and more. Before we get into that, caramba, we got a special guest today. Spurs Talk Show. How's it going, bro? How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, good. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to talking some sense with some about Tottenham, about Arsenal. See where we go with it. Maybe it'll be fire. Maybe it'll be quite polite. We don't know, do we?
Listen, we're just gonna talk facts. But no, big up for coming on the show. Let's start off with this striker. Rasmus HAALAND is a striker that plays in Italy for Atalanta, 20 years old, Danish, I believe. And he's been tipped to be the next this and that. To be honest with you, I'm cansado de esa pucaria all the time. The next Messi. I remember Bojan. I remember so many players that are going to be the next this and that. I remember Nani was going to be the next Ronaldo. Not saying that Nani was a bum, but he wasn't Ronaldo level, was he? So I take it with a pinch of salt. But we've got this striker being linked to Arsenal and Newcastle. Have you seen much of him? Do you rate him? Would you think it's a good signing for Arsenal?
Well, yeah, like I was just saying to you backstage, mate. Like, you know, I get sick and tired, like you, of hearing about the next this, the next that. Like, I have watched him because I've got this tool, this amazing tool called Y Scout, right? So you can like zone in on a player and just see every little clip that shows you like all of his good, all of his bad. You can like dive into any specific area of his game and see everything he's ever done regarding heading or tackling or sprinting or whatever. So you can it's better than like highlight reels. And obviously, it's more specific than just watching like games for Atalanta or games when he played for Copenhagen. So it's a really cool thing. And I checked him out in detail. And look, he does have similar physical attributes to Haaland, right? He is super quick. He is very tall. And, you know, he can hit the ball from distance with both feet. He's good in the air. He's aggressive. Like he does have all of those kind of things that if you're going to compare him to someone, then you might look at him and think he's not a Scandinavian kind of like Viking that can go and do that sort of thing. However, you know, what I would say is that in the 7 games that he's been playing, the 20 odd games that he's been playing competitive football in Serie A, he's got 7 goals, which is good. But for what it's worth, like his XG, I don't know if you're an XG kind of fan or a stat fan. I'm not massively about it, but it does give you some insight into whether or not, you know, when you're comparing it to the goals that you've seen him score, whether he is just doing Tommy tap-ins or whether he is, you know, if he's scoring a lot of goals from distance, then what does the XG show? And what it actually shows is that his XG is basically exactly the same as his goals that he scored for Atalanta. And a lot of the goals that he scored for Atalanta are from distance and quite creative, which tells me that he's also missing quite a few goals that he should be scoring for that level to be about the same, right? So, look, real talent, but he's only been doing it for 6 months or 9 months in Serie A. Before then, he was playing for Copenhagen, and some of the clips that you've seen that you watch using that tool, he looks like he's playing in front of like a university crowd. There's like 1,000 people there and stuff, and the ground looks terrible. So I just think it's all too early, mate. Like you know. He looks like he's got the chops. He's got the physical he's got the physics to do it. But I don't know if he's I don't know, like, you know, if he's valued at 35 million quid. Like, really? Already? It's madness, isn't it?
It's crazy, bro. As long as you look like you're gonna go on a boys' holiday, you're ready to go to Shagaloof or you're ready to go to Cancun, you got some nice tattoos and you're under 21 or 22. All of a sudden, you're the next this and that these days. I'm sick and tired of this pucaria. You know what? Yeah, I've seen it at my club. I've seen Sonogo. I've seen players like Nketiah ain't good enough, and we've been seeing that. We got Balogun out on loan in League One. I don't think he's good enough already yet to fill in for what we need. We're supposed to be going to the Champions League. 25 years that we had Champions League football under Arsene Wenger, and we never pushed on. Why? Because we'd get players like this. Players that have potential, players that are not ready, players that could become the next this and that. And if things are actually going to change around Arsenal, like people keep telling me, then go get me players that can actually compete in the Champions League and can actually win us the Champions League and potentially, you know, actually defend the Premier League if we win it this year. For me, he's on the same level as somebody like a Balogun. I'm not overgassing this guy. For me, 23 appearances, 7 goals, 2 assists. It's not good enough. And this year we've been seeing that. Yes, we've done well with Jesus being out, but Trossard has displaced Nketiah. Is this kid better than Nketiah? I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because when I'm seeing all these strikers that have already come to the Premier League, we've seen Shevchenko, we've seen players like Varane come to the Premier League, we've seen players like Werner come to the league that have a lot bigger reputation than this guy and flop. So why am I going to look at this guy just because, you know, he's got a fancy name and it almost sounds like Haaland and he's 21. He's probably got a couple of tattoos, been a boys' holiday. Do you know what I mean? Probably got a stupid.
He's growing his hair as well. Over the last year, his hair's getting slightly longer. He's putting that bun. He's trying to definitely replicate. But listen, if he comes in, it depends on what the transfer value is, right? If I don't believe that he's worth 35 million because he scored 7 goals for Atalanta or whatever it is in 6 months, right? I just don't believe it. But you know, to put aside the comparison and think like you're not going to pay that money just because he sounds a little bit and looks a little bit like Haaland. There's a lot more that comes to being a footballer, and I don't think he's shown that yet. But if you can get him for like, I don't know, 20 million these days ain't much, right? For a talent, 25 million. I mean, Tottenham paid like 25, 30 million quid for Brian Hill. You know, like you have to speculate sometimes on these kids, and a lot of them are going to fall by the wayside. Some of them are going to hit, you know, some of them are going to go on and make it. But 30 million isn't really that much money. So it depends on what sort of money Atalanta wants for him. But it sounds to me like you want someone far more like there's no risk, that you know that the guy's going to come in and be an improvement on Nketiah that can do the job of a 9 that maybe Jesus can't, right? And who is that? Do you think Arsenal have got the money to go and find? Because there's not a lot of. Is it a 9 that you want, right? And if it is, there's not that many of them out there, are there? Right. So who are you? Who do you think you can go and get that, like you say, is Prem proven, that is affordable to Arsenal's transfer budget and that can step in and do the job? No questions asked.
I mean, for me, it doesn't even have to be a number 9, but I want somebody that's a goal scorer or someone at least in the same mold as somebody like Jesus. When you look at João Felix, I haven't heard anything from Chelsea. Not that I'm a Chelsea fan, but that they're going to lock him down to a permanent contract. He looks like he's done over there at Atletico. I think he'd fit into our system. He's very good with the ball, technically sound, knows how to find the back of the net. I think why not go and get a João Felix? You know what I mean? If not a João Felix, go get an Ivan Toney. If not an Ivan Toney, get a Mitrovic, because there's been games where we can't break teams through the middle, and we could use with a target man. The last 20, 30 minutes of the game, right? Whipping balls, you got Tini, he can cross in balls. It gives you something different. You know, sometimes it's a blessing and a curse getting players that are too alike. A lot of Arsenal fans, because it's working with Jesus, want someone in the same mold. I would even potentially go get somebody that's a little bit different. But what I don't want is that bum Edu, because he's a bum, because we are overperforming, not because of him, yeah? And he's flipping square head looking like Rugrats. I'm sick and tired of filho da puta. Honestly, yeah? Bro, that marica de merda, yeah? That way one. I'm sick and tired of that guy, bro. All the time he's like, oh, we got a process. Really? Oh, we're looking at players like Declan Rice and all this. Bro, I've been hearing this when we was after Rafinha, we didn't get him. I heard this when we was after Mudryk, we didn't get him. We was after João Felix, we didn't get him. Scouting these players before the transfer window opened, and what did we do? Nothing. We go for plan D, plan E, plan B. Now, I'm done with that. I don't want plan C. If the player that we want is, I mean, we're getting tired around with BRAHIM DIAZ, which we'll get onto. There's other players like Osimhen that we're interested in. Go get the player that you want, because we're always going for plan C. Our main target wasn't Jorginho. We got Jorginho because we didn't want to pay the money for Caicedo, because we didn't want to pay the money for Declan Rice. You can't keep doing that. If we're going to compete at the highest level, which is what I expect, then we need to go get our main targets. And Arsenal's not a club that is good at, you know, when you're in a transfer saga where you're going back to back with another club and who's going to prize the player away. In a bidding war against Rafinha, we lost. Bidding war against Mudryk, we lost. Bidding war for Vlahovic, we lost. So go get the player. I'm not listening to none of these plan B players. And this guy is plan F, maybe plan G. This guy's not good enough. And the reason I say this is because we already got someone in the same mold as Balogun and Nketiah, roughly around the same level as this guy. Right? We don't need that, bro. And if he's not good enough, we got Trossard displacing Nketiah. If this guy's the same level as Nketiah, is he really going to be a starter? I don't see it. We need to push on, and Arsenal need to have bigger ambitions. And my ambition is to win the league, and that's how I look at it, bro.
Do you think? I hear you, mate. I hear you. It's interesting because you're you're coming across like a I don't know you that well, obviously, right? But you're coming across like a fan who expects more than what like Edu is delivering for you guys. I can only imagine how frustrated you'd be if you were a Tottenham fan, right? Because of what we're going through. But like if you failed with certain players, and you're talking about like João Felix, like I don't even know like as Arsenal's financial capabilities, are they able to go and drop 100 million or whatever it would take to go and get João Felix from Atletico Madrid? Is money not an issue to Arsenal like it doesn't seem to be with, say, Chelsea right now?
Bro, I don't care what that hijo puta of Edu's got to say. Last summer, he said we're going to have a big summer, war chest, big summer. Oh, we're going to go, don't worry. Yeah? And what happened last summer? We only got 2 players. Yeah? We've left it to chance. This team wasn't supposed to be doing what they're doing. Yeah?
Yeah,
He
of course.
promised us in the summer that we'd have a big summer. We went last January when you lot picked us the top 4. We let go of 6 players and we brought in nobody, bro. And we were twerking, shaking our ass for Vlahovic. Not good enough. We should have got it over the line. Maybe if he's good enough or not, it's not acceptable. Go get it done. He promised us a big summer. We didn't do it. They promised us a big January. We didn't do it. Let's be real. There's a lot of the reason why a lot of Arsenal fans right now, after we got knocked out of Sporting, now they're saying the things that I was saying before January. The squad isn't good enough. Oh, we got a thin squad. So why wasn't we making more noise about signing players in the summer and in January, especially in January, when you're going for the league and you know your deficiencies is the midfield? You didn't address it in the summer transfer window. You knew when we signed Jesus, we needed another striker. And I said, what's going to happen if we get another injury? Luckily, we got Trossard. But let's be real. If you need a goal, Trossard isn't an out-and-out goal scorer. He's not even a striker.
No, he's not going to find
that's a risk. That's a risk. We didn't know if he would adapt well to be in a striker position. That's not his main position. But there's so many areas. You know, you got Ben White, Tomiyasu's injured. We ain't got another right back. So there's so much that needs to be done to this squad. And we haven't done it. So for me, I don't care if you don't have the money. Go get the money. I don't care. Get the money.
Figure it out. Yeah, but do you think that? So, like, you're talking about this guy, like I say, Rasmus Højlund, whatever you want to call it. Like, I do think he's got a talent, right? I'm not going to say just because he hasn't done it yet doesn't mean he won't do it. And if you wait until he's done it, you'll end up paying 5-6 times more. Look at Kim Min-jae, not to take it onto Tottenham, but just for example, Tottenham had the chance to sign Kim Min-jae 5 years ago when he was in China. We turned him down for like 500 grand. Then we had Jose Mourinho wanted him, and we could have bought him for 6 million quid. And then we ended up getting Joe Rodon instead and paid double the money for Joe Rodon, who's done absolutely nothing, right? So, like, sometimes you sit there and you lick your wounds with the benefit of hindsight going, nah, man, we should have taken the opportunity when Amrabat's another example, right? Last January, Tottenham were linked with, not like 2 months ago, 14 months ago, Tottenham were linked with Amrabat all that window. And Tottenham fans were like, oh, another Levy signing. We don't need this kind of B-Tech version of whoever. Need someone better, need someone ready-made. And then we don't get him. Obviously, we had a good window, that particular window, getting Kulusevski and Bentancur. But the point remains, you then wait 6-9 months, and then you see Amrabat have the a World Cup of his dream, and the guy's now worth 2.5 times what he was a year earlier. And I don't know whether Højlund is going to be the guy or not. But one name you have mentioned a couple of times that I do think might be one where you can go back and you probably do have a ready-made player is the fella that you missed out on, that you negotiated, you missed out, and he went to Juventus, right? Sorry, man, my mind's gone blank. Who's this? Vlahovic, right? Tottenham were interested in him. Everyone was interested in him. You were negotiating, couldn't get it done. He's gone to Juve. Juve are under all sorts of legal pressures. They've already been deducted 25 points or 15 points so far. They could get another 30 points on the board by the end of the season, depending on what happens with that stuff. They could end up, if not in a relegation battle, just ahead of it. And then, God forbid, if all of those charges that are supposed to be knocked towards their door do fall their way, that might happen to them. What happened to them in 2010, you might see them down in the Serie B. In that case, people like Vlahovic aren't hanging around, right? And so him, for me, for you, for a lot of teams, is a number 9. Juventus are financially absolutely bankrupt. They might just in the summer, be interested if someone like Arsenal could go and put 40 million at their door and say, we'll give you 40 million to get you out of your financial, precarious situation. And he is someone that everyone knows would be an absolute steal at that level, even at 50, 60 million. Pay the money, get that guy in. I don't know what's wrong with going back and having a second sniff at him, because I think that he would be the difference between you guys, doing what you may or may not achieve this year. Listen, who knows whether you're going to win the league? For me personally, I think you probably are. But doing it 1 year like Leicester did is not the same as repeating it. And next year there's going to be it's going to be a whole lot different in the competitiveness again with a few clubs that are coming back up. What I would ask you though, mate, before I pivot back to you on the Vlahovic, is do you think that Arteta is trying to do with Arsenal what Guardiola was doing before Haaland was arrived at Manchester City, in that there was no number 9 at Manchester City, and it was that kind of total football. Everyone was contributing, and he didn't need a 9. Obviously Arteta's a little bit of the kind of the offspring of the Guardiola system. Do you think that a number 9 might disrupt Arsenal's style of play?
I mean, we've seen it with Haaland, and like you said, Arteta's learned under Pep, so he'd have to make it work. And if Pep is struggling to make it, up until now, it hasn't been fluid, then I think Arteta would struggle. But I think Jesus will be our number 1 anyway. That number 9 will have to fight to become a starter. I don't think he just walks in, depending on who you get, obviously, as well. Depends on who you get. But for me, I just feel like Jesus starts, and if you need to change the game and Jesus is being marked out of the game, they got 2 man on him, then put a number 9 that can do something different. But for me, I just feel like Liverpool have fallen away because they stopped dining at the top level of football in terms of recruitment, in terms of making sure they get the players that the squad needs, revamping the squad. And Arsenal right now are looking like we could win the league. And if we want to sustain this, we then now need to shop at the next level. You remember when Liverpool went for Salah, when they went for Mane, yeah, they were getting bargains. But then it started to change. Then they sold Coutinho, and then they went and got, they got the goalkeeper. They went and got Van Dijk. You then need to start buying at the top level to sustain your dominance. And when you got that, and when you don't have the foresight to see the weaknesses in your squad, like Arsenal, Fabi Vieira is not as good as Odegaard, and we need better than Odegaard. Because I'll be real, Odegaard's been fantastic and deserves a new contract, but he ain't world class. That's a fact. He ain't world class.
He's not world class yet. No, he might be though. He's certainly one of the best players this season in his position, right?
But at the same time, we need better. And that's how you get better. You bring better. You bring competition. You bring Trossard, and you see Martinelli stepping up. Martinelli was dropping. He had a couple of weeks in the last 2 months where he was falling off a bit. You bring Trossard, all of a sudden, he's scoring goals again. He's got that fire under the belly. You need to make that competition. And Sir Alex Ferguson did it perfectly. He wouldn't go, when he was competing, he got his team competing and winning titles. He wouldn't go bargain bucket. He'll go and get Berbatov. He'll go and get Van Persie. That's how you sustain your dominance. If we want Arsenal to sustain this, then we need to then now move away from the bargain. But of course, once you get an established team that can compete, like Arsenal fans have been saying, oh, we haven't got the squad strong enough to compete in the Europa. Well, what are we going to do in the Champions League? What are we going to do? Because certain players ain't good enough to compete in the Europa, like Rob Holding.
I mean, look, you should have won the Europa League. I don't know what happened on the night, right? I don't know what happened. Listen, as a Tottenham fan, I was loving it. I was the most engaged in a game that didn't involve my team I've ever been. I was absolutely pumped up. But explain to me what happened on the night, because you should have. There's no excuses why you lost that game. Like, Amarin's a good manager, and Sporting have got a good team, but on paper and in reality, at your gaff, it was 2-2. There was no reason for you to get knocked out in that game. So what happened? Was it Arteta's tactics? Was it the players having an off night? Was it Sporting just elevating themselves to another level? Explain it to me, because I can't get my head around it. I'm happy it happened, but I don't understand it.
The problem is when you start putting the bench players as the number 1 players to Arsenal as starters, the level just drops off too dramatically. And that's the problem. You can't put a midfield of Jorginho and you put Xhaka in there and then you put Fabi Vieira. It doesn't work. Nobody can control the midfield. No one is going to get, is going to receive that ball and then and actually, get stuck in and help the defense. And that's what happened. They're hitting us on the counter, and our midfield was open. And what I hated, and that's why I put a reaction video out saying sack Arteta, because that midfield didn't work in the first leg. So why are you going to do it in the second leg? It don't work. Jorginho's best attributes is going forward. The long balls over the top, finding that man, finding one of the front three, from deep. That's what he's better at. I actually said he's a better replacement for Xhaka than he is for Partey, which
Partey,
is
yeah,
why I
I
wasn't
agree with
happy
that.
with him.
No, I agree with that 100%. He is, yeah.
You know, Xhaka, we've already seen we get the best of him when we're not relying on him to do defensive duty. And when they're hitting you with numbers with Edwards and all those players, you need players that are going to help, you know, and dig in and actually help the defense. And then you've got Fabio Vieira. This guy ain't good enough. He ain't Portuguese. I'm sorry. No offense. He's probably Romanian. In a football sense, he must be Romanian. There's no way that feels that Puta is Portuguese. No way. I rebuke his passport. There's no way, bro. There's no way. You go to Lisbon right now, yeah, around the corner from my granddad's house. There's 8-year-olds that got better skills than Fabio Vieira, and these men were twerking. I support Benfica.
I know everyone. I remember when you signed him. All Arsenal fans suddenly were experts in the Portuguese league. I remember it. I was funny. Like, but is he? How much did you pay for him? It wasn't cheap, was he? It was quite a lot.
I think it was like 25 mil, something like that.
Yeah, so this is what I mean, right? He's one of these sprays and plays. Like, I don't know if you're a gambling man, but like, I'm a big gambler. When I watch golf tournaments, like, I have like whatever I have as my total budget, I'll have like the majority of my stake on a few of the big names, and then I'll have a couple of sprays and lays, right? Like people that you don't expect to do well, but you put a few quid on them here and there, and then see if they can figure it out during the long weekend. And I feel like at 25 million quid, like that's what you get these days with 21, 22-year-olds. You have to go out there and throw a couple of those kind of darts at the dartboard and see if they land. We've done it with Bryan Hill and Emerson Royale. Emerson Royale ended up being a bigger part in our team to our detriment than he was supposed to be, or he just didn't turn out to be the talent we thought he would. Bryan Hill was a very similar example, I think, to your man, Fabio Vieira. Like he you get excited by someone that's been described as like he's probably another one that was described as the next whoever, right? And he comes in and doesn't quite hit the ground running. And I don't know is he going to go out on loan, or are you going to cut your losses on him? What do you think is going to happen to him next season?
I would sell Rob Holding. Tomiyasu's another bum. Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko. Why would you in a team like Sporting that counter-attack so well? Why did we play Zinchenko? That guy leaves a gaping hole at left back. For all he does well in the midfield, just play him as a midfielder. If Xhaka's having a bad game, just rotate him with Xhaka. I don't understand. Kieran Tierney's there, and this fan base is disrespecting Kieran Tierney. Are they dumb? The main job, of a defender is to defend. Everything else is secondary. This is why people are getting onto Alexander-Arnold. Because as great as you're going forward, bro, you're not a winger. You're a left back. So your job is to defend. And as good as you are going forward, ain't good enough. We've got another bum that plays as left back in Nuno Tavares. He's another one that's out on loan. He's a bum. You know what I mean? He's another bum, bro. I'm telling you, yeah? He's a Portuguese rapper. He looks like a Portuguese rapper. The guy, does 0 to 5 seconds, he runs from the Emirates to flipping Lisbon. That's why he needs to go back. Get an easy jet flight and piss off back to Portugal, bro, because you're a bum. Benfica, have made 1.6 billion, I think, in the last 15 years.
The great, but you know what, though? But they also
don't cut deals, bro. But they did a cut deal on Bruno. Do you know why? On Tavares. Do you know why? Because he's a bum. And that's coming from someone that is Portuguese. I rate my Portuguese ballers, but I'm telling you, Tavares and Vieira, these men are bottom of the barrel. They're Division 3 Portuguese league players. They're bums, bro. And the thing is, this fan base don't even watch the Portuguese league. They disrespect the French league. The Portuguese league is like the 6th strongest league in the world. They ain't watching that.
No, I agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? When they gas it up, how many Portuguese teams do you actually watch? I bet they can't even name 5 Portuguese teams. I bet they can't. You know what I mean? They don't even know who Famalicão is. You don't even know who. Do you know who Rio Alves is? No, they don't. Do you know what I mean? And this is what I hate about Arsenal fans. Over-gas players that ain't good enough, bro. Reece Nelson, another one that's probably going to get another extension. Do you know why? Because he had 1 or 2 good games. But ultimately, every player is going to have 1 or 2 games in a season of over 30 games. Yeah? But at the end of the day, Reece Nelson isn't good enough. We did the same thing with Nketiah. And this is why I strive for better at this club. Because these men forget that Nketiah ain't good enough.
What does better look like for you, though? Like, in reality, you can't sack 25 players. I'm not suggesting that you need to sack the entire squad, but like in your mind, it sounds like you're not happy with the general standard of the kind of like the people that are making up the rest of the squad. You haven't got a plan B. You haven't got a squad where you can pivot to.
Just dead, bro. Dead. So
are you okay with Arteta to rebuild it? Do you want him to get another 3 years, or even irrespective of whether he wins the league or doesn't? Like you can put.
Now, if he doesn't win the league, I want him sacked.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
That's it, bro. Do you know what? Yeah, Arsenal fans think I'm harsh. Yeah, football's harsh, bro. Football's harsh.
The results
if you ain't
business,
good enough, they cut you. The best teams, they cut you. Do you know what I mean? It's a competition. If we want to be the best, the standards have got to be up there. I always say this to Arsenal fans. Would Sol Campbell come to the Emirates now, in not this season, but prior? Because we've had 19 years of bullshit. Yeah, they wouldn't. Harry Kane ain't coming to Arsenal. Why? Because Arsenal haven't been winning major honours. If it was back in Sol Campbell's day, Harry Kane would come to us. But we're not that Arsenal of then. Players want to come to winning teams. If you love Saka, if you love Martinelli, if you love ESR, if you love Jesus, these players will only stay if we're winning. And Saka's yet to sign a contract. Saliba's yet to sign a contract. They want to see ambition. They want to see the ambition of the team. With all due respect, Sol Campbell came to us because we were winning, we were competing. If we wasn't, he wouldn't have come. Let's be real. When I see Van Persie going to Man United, I hate Man United, but I can't deny he went because we wasn't ambitious enough. Fabregas, the same thing. He didn't want to go back to his boyhood club, but he's looking around thinking, bro, I can't carry this team. So for us to keep hold, the thing is what some Arsenal fans don't understand, and they turn into maricas and filhos da puta. They don't understand. To keep your star players, you have to be ambitious. Because they want to see that. And this is why, I get onto Son and I get onto Kane. Because what kind of ambition have you lot got to stay at Tottenham? And it's the same standards I hold in my club. To stay at a club that is not winning major honours and you're signing 6-year deals and all this. Nah, bro. That's not good enough. I actually kind of respect Van Persie, Nasri, all these men, because they want to win. And if we kept them around and bought more winners, we would have won more stuff. But we wasn't ambitious enough to help them.
It depends what they're doing at the club, right? If they're doing everything they possibly can to make the club that is unsuccessful successful, and they don't have the support to do it, then I understand them wanting to leave. Like if Harry Kane was to leave, for example, I get it, right? I totally get it. He's got a shelf life, and it's running dry very quickly. So move on, try and grab a trophy. But what I don't appreciate are players that think that they're carrying the team when actually they ain't. And they actually start to like drop their own levels back, and they think, when they become lazy, and they've got all the talent, but ain't fighting for it either. And then they think, oh, screw this, I'm going to down tools because I'm out of here end of the season. Then you know what? Like, I don't like players that have got the potential and they blame the variables around them for why they haven't been successful when they're not doing enough to elevate what they could be doing. Because there's more than just being a good player on the pitch. You could be a leader in the dressing room. You can lead by example. You can lead vocally. Harry Kane, for example, is not a vocal leader. You never hear him saying a boo to a goose on the pitch. I don't know what he's like in the dressing room, but he is not a leader, a vocal leader. And maybe that's an area of his game where he could show a little bit more growth. He does everything else perfectly. He's a consummate professional. But you know what? Like, if he's someone who's sitting there thinking, why aren't these players doing more? Then why isn't he saying it? Why isn't he vocal, right? And if that's an area that he doesn't have the confidence in, then figure it out, bro. You're excellent in everything else. And if there's a little bit of more growth that can come from other people by hearing you say that shit out loud, then say it. I'm not saying that everyone can do that stuff, but I'm just saying that, like, what I mean is I understand players that are doing all they can, and the rest of the club aren't pulling their weight and they want out. But if you're not doing everything you can yourself and you just think you're above the situation and then you want out, then I don't have that much respect for it.
Facts. I can't debate anything that you just said there. It reminded me of Ozil, and he's just retired. And that guy got his ass handed to him in the Turkish league. He was like Ronaldo. He still thought he had it, but you know what, Ozil, hold that. Anyway, Anyway, let's move. We'll talk about Spurs, so that leads me straight on to the next topic. Nagelsmann. Seems like he's been sacked from Bayern Munich and has been tipped to be the next Tottenham manager. What do you make of it? I mean, you're a Tottenham fan. People, make sure you like and subscribe. Don't be a viado. Don't be a fila da puta. Don't be Edu. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe to Spurs Talk Show.
Talk Show. Yeah. Come on over.
Even if you just want to banter, listen. Everything helps the algorithm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
What do you make of Nagelsmann, bro? As a Tottenham fan.
Look, I like him. I like him a lot. I find the whole situation last night super weird, right? Like, I just finished a stream on the Irish Hotspur. I know you know those boys. And then at 9 o'clock, the drop comes that he's been sacked. And then within half an hour of that, Thomas Tuchel, who's apparently been in deep talks with Tottenham about taking over from Conte, he's now been confirmed as their manager. And then all of a sudden, Nagelsmann is odds-on favourite to take over at Tottenham. And all the while, Nagelsmann hasn't even been officially let know. Like, no one told him that he'd been let go. Like, he found out apparently from Fabrizio Romano's tweet that he'd been let go from Bayern, and he's apparently the favourite to take over at Tottenham. But we haven't even cut ties with Conte yet. So you've got like all this managerial merry-go-round happening in two clubs that officially at least still have their managers at the time last night in charge. So you know, I was more up for Tuchel or Pochettino were my two favorite choices. I didn't even know Nagelsmann was an option. As soon as he becomes available, he immediately goes to my top of my list because the guy is, you know, I watched a video of him that said, when he said to me, this was back when he's at Hoffenheim back in the day, he said, to me, football management is 70% tactics, 30% psychology. And that he has like a nuanced and individual approach on how he manages every single individual that's under his team, because no one person wants to react the same to certain feedback. Like some want the carrot, some want the stick, some want a bit of a hybrid, and that it's not something that you can outsource to a sports psychologist to handle. And whether or not Conte should or shouldn't have said what he said, what he actually said about Tottenham being bottle jobs and that we don't have the psychological strength to compete, he was bang on what he said. And Tottenham do need to figure out that psychological barrier to be successful. And if this guy, Nagelsmann, spends 30% of his time figuring out the mentality of the players that is under his coaching and how to get the best out of them, then for me, he immediately becomes top of the list, because I don't think Poch does that. I think Poch is a kind of like a bit of a 21st century version of Harry Redknapp, put like the arm around, you know, be like friendly. Conte wasn't that sort of guy. Emerson Royale, Chicken Royale, said last week, we didn't have any relationship with Conte. You know, I respect him, but he never really, like, you didn't have many one-on-ones or anything. No, there's no real conversations. So if Conte's calling out the psychology of the players, but isn't doing anything to improve it by talking to them, then he's a grafter who's just trying to take the money. And I don't know if I can swear on this channel, but screw him, right?
Yeah,
like,
you can swear, man. I swear all the time.
Okay, well, fuck Conte. Fuck him. Don't like him. Didn't want him. I think the guy's an absolute prick. And I want someone to come in who does have the chops to be able to talk to the players and get the best out of them. Look, there's many problems with Tottenham squad. We need two centre-backs. We need a goalkeeper. We need a creative player. All of those things. No manager's going to be successful at Tottenham this next season unless we fix that in the summer. But even if you do fix it, you're still going to need someone to overcome the psychological issues at Tottenham with the players. And if this guy prioritizes that as a massive factor in how he manages, then for me, he's the right guy for the job.
I hear that. I mean, he plays three at the back, so it's not going to be a complete system overhaul, which would make for a smoother transition for the players to get on board. Obviously, there's going to be little technicalities, but ultimately, I don't think anything's going to change at Tottenham, even with a managerial change. I get. Obviously, you need a manager. I get that, but the whole structure behind Tottenham remind me a lot of the structure with Arsenal in the last 18, 19 years of us being serial losers. Yeah. And the structure is the recruitment isn't good enough. The hindsight isn't good enough. Before the season started, that transfer window was a decent transfer window, but it was a transfer window that you lot needed 2-3 years ago. You're playing catch up. A lot of your starters like Dyer used to be backup guys that are now your starters. It ain't good enough.
Yeah,
it ain't
100%.
good enough. And listen, if I was a Tottenham fan, I'll be fuming because I'm looking at it thinking, hold on, Dyer wasn't good enough before. Why is he good enough now? Why is it that certain bench guys are here now? Why is it? Yeah, I mean, you got Richarlison that can come off the bench. You got a few more players, Danjuma now, that can come off the bench. But at the same time, the overall starting team isn't good enough. Yeah. And you know, even with at the start, you lot were linked to so many centre backs, and you didn't get any centre backs. And I keep saying it, like, you only got one. Romero's the only good centre back that you got, and if he gets injured, the rest of them are going to get exposed.
Well, but even he's not like he's promoted as being this Rolls Royce of a defender because people are comparing him to what we have, right? But if all you've got is like Lada, Skoda level car, like you don't need to go to a Rolls Royce when you're trying to make the point that he's better than what we have, because he ain't a Rolls Royce yet. He's volatile. He's got like this tendency to go in like hapdash and create mayhem and get sent off unnecessarily. He's a good prospect, a good talent, but he's not a Rolls Royce. And next to him, like you say, we have absolutely nobody. So I take what you're saying, and I absolutely agree. I'm going to run with it. The question was about whether or not Nagelsmann's the guy for the managerial job. And to me, the answer is yes. But the problems at Tottenham are far further up. We've got a director of football in Paratici who we don't even know if he's going to be able to do his job in like 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years, because they got like the Juventus debacle, all those legal issues, all of that stuff. They've already banned him from doing work in Italy for the next 2 years, and they want to ban him via FIFA and UEFA, so he gets a global ban. If that's the case, and that judgment could come at any time, any day. And if that happens, then you've got a director of football who is entirely useless, can't do anything. His track record ain't great anyway. And above him, you've got a guy in Daniel Levy who can't bear to take his hand off the steering wheel and let football people do the football decisions, and him just be the guy who's doing what he does brilliantly, which is create revenue streams from external things. So you're right, man. There's top to bottom at Tottenham. It's an absolute nightmare. And from what from hearing you speak about, and hearing you before speak about your thoughts on Arsenal, you sound fairly impatient and intolerant of some of the stuff that's going on with your club. If you were a Tottenham fan, you'd be like, you'd be driving yourself potty, I reckon. Because, like, to me, I'm looking in at your what you've got going on. I'm like, it ain't that bad. I think you guys are doing all right, but you still seem quite angry about it. Whereas Tottenham are a shambles, man. Like, we are a top to bottom, like absolute, like we're a disgrace right now. We can't figure anything out, and there's no synchronicity or chemistry between any of the people that are making the decisions. But at the same time, Tottenham are always 2 or 3 players away from having, a decent squad. And like I say, if we can figure that out and get a manager in, then maybe we can do a little bit better next season than this season. But we're miles away from going on a title run like you're doing.
Yeah, I feel with you guys, it's just like there was a time where you should have just cashed in on Harry Kane for the betterment of the team. I'll tell you why. Bruno Fernandes, when he was sold from Sporting, they become a better team. They invested in key areas that they needed, and they won the league. I know the Ultras stormed the training ground and they got physical, which I don't condone, because no one, and under no circumstances, should fans or players get physical. But they become a better team and they won. You look at Napoli. How long were they holding on to Koulibaly? And then all of a sudden they sell him, reinvest it. They got that guy from Georgia. He starts with a K. I can't even pronounce his name.
Kvaratskhelia, or whatever his name is. Yeah.
There you go. You got exactly. I would have butchered it. That's what
I'm not sure that's how it's said. I just threw out some words.
Let's just go with it. Let's just go with it. I don't think anyone from Georgia watching. But, do you know what I mean? Like they got him, and then all of a sudden they got Osimhen and all these players. All of a sudden they're a better team, and they're going on to win the league. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, even Benfica, which is my Portuguese team, the team of my granddad, rest in peace. We sold Darwin Núñez, and look at us now, flying in the Portuguese league. We're in the knockout stages of the Champions League. This is the sixth strongest league in the world. They don't have money.
And arguably, Benfica are playing, like, people make the argument, I know obviously you probably don't agree with this one, but people are making the argument that Arsenal are playing like the first best football in Europe this season. The arguments against it are probably Napoli and Benfica. Benfica's football has been absolutely superb this season in the Champions League as well as in the Portuguese league, right?
That Roger Schmidt, I'm telling you, you lot should be looking at that guy. That guy, I'm telling you, with what he's got, and you're looking at it. Like, I know a lot of people look at Ruben Amorim, that's at Sporting.
Yeah.
Benfica player, legend. And they're like, oh, look what he's doing. But this guy, this Roger Schmidt, I'm telling you, this guy, he's doing bits over there for Benfica. And those are the kind of managers that I think Tottenham thrive under. Managers that don't need a lot, but do make a lot of what they have. But you're not going to win anything when your fans. I've seen Tottenham fans, and obviously not yourself, but I've had some Tottenham fans on, and they're saying, go for top four, go for top four. I'm saying, listen to me and listen to me carefully, Marika. Listen to me carefully. Yeah. This fucking football club had 25 years of Champions League football. What the fuck did we do in that competition? Let me know. What did we do? Nothing.
Yeah, not much.
Arsenal? The owners, all they wanted is get into the quarterfinals, get knocked out. They get all the money for the knockout stages, all the money for getting to the round of 16, then the quarterfinals, out, job done. Yeah, job
Yeah,
done.
but that money is important, right? There's a lot of Tottenham fans right now. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, there's no point in finishing top 4 if you ain't going to kick on from it and do anything in the competition. But there's two sides to the conversation about the benefit of finishing top 4. One is, do you want to go and play against the best? Do you want to attract the best players? Do you want to kick on from it? But the other is, if you don't finish top 4, and unless you got a sugar daddy like Man City, like Chelsea used to, and to some extent still do, like Newcastle have, Manchester United, print money because of their size of their brand and their commercial stuff around the world. But generally speaking, like for teams like Tottenham, and I'd never looked through, because I'm like an investment banker, so at least I used to be. So I'm very much into the financial side of football. I've never looked into the Arsenal figures, so I don't know how it is that you guys just sort of generate your money. But Tottenham have made it abundantly clear that we need to be self-sustainable. So when people say, fuck the top 4, I'd rather be out of Europe altogether and play one game a week and focus on the 2 cups in the domestic league and the Premier League, I say, yeah, but the problem is with that is that when it comes to the summer, you'll be demanding that we spend 60 million quid or find 100 million quid or whatever it's going to take to get the player that you want to fill the gap that you think we need to compete. But absent getting into the Champions League, that money ain't there. So, like, whilst I agree that qualifying for the Champions League to play in the Champions League and not do anything, to what you're saying, to the Arsenal point, quarterfinal one out every year, I get it. It's pointless. But the money that it creates, if that's how you're going to find the money to pay for the mistakes that you're going to make in the transfer market along the way, then it's necessary.
But that's the point. It's not going into that. It's going into your owner's pocket. So as a fan, personally, if I was a Tottenham fan, I'd say F it. F their money. Because they're not reinvesting it back in the squad. Because you lot are doing business you should have done 2-3 years ago. So F their money. And let's go all out for the Carabao and the FA Cup. Create a winning spirit. And as a fan, I'm going to remember when we win the FA Cup, when we win the Carabao Cup. And as a fan, I actually have something to be like, you know what, I'm proud of that. Yeah, it's not the Champions League. Yeah, it's not the Premier League. But it's getting us out of this, we don't win anything. And players know that now you come in, you got to win something. And then if we go into that competition, then we can kick on. But I would rather, as a fan,
as a fan, I get it.
Arsenal Football Club, all the money we made at the Champions League, because it was never reinvested. Never.
Yeah, but it must be, though. Like, you're talking about buying João Felix. How are you going to pay for the 100 million quid for João Felix unless you've got the revenue streams, to justify the investment?
Not going for João Felix, like I just told you, my club is going for Plan C, Plan D.
Yeah.
Like I said, we went for Trossard. Even though I rate Trossard, the main target was Rafinha. Then it was Mudryk. Then it was Trossard.
Yeah.
Then when we're going for a striker, we're not getting a striker. Just sign a DNK. Give him the number 14. Yeah. Give him looking like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just give him the number 14. Yeah. Just because it's good for the culture, Project Youth. When we know we need a certified striker, and that's why Trossard playing out of position is overdoing. It's all good getting this money, and I get what you're saying. But if your club, which my club has done, is not reinvesting it in the team, which we can kind of look and see at times. I don't think they are, because they're not going all out for these players that we want them to, like you said, a João Felix or a Rafinha, etc., etc. What is the point? We're lining their pockets. They're not winning anything for the history of the club. And let's be real, the main thing we judge clubs on, the first
trophies. Yeah, of course.
What are we getting out of it as fans? And this is why I get pissed off of Arsenal, because it's all good with the merch. It's all good getting your Europa League or Champions League money. But what am I getting out of it? Because this is a competition. This isn't.
Well, let me ask you this though, right?
Against flipping Aldi, going up against Lidl, and who's saving more? Come over here because we can save more. It's not about money, bro. It's about winning. I couldn't give a shit what the books are at Arsenal. I want to win, bro.
Over the last 23 years, right? So I always use this statistic because it's a Daniel Levy thing. It's since he's been in charge. So let's say 2001 until now, 90% of all domestic trophies have been won by the same 5 teams, right? Of the other 10%, you've got Leicester winning 2, and then there's 7 trophies that have been won by, seven other clubs that have won 1 trophy once. Like teams like Tottenham, Wigan, Swansea, Portsmouth, Middlesbrough, whatever else. But the vast majority of trophies have been won by Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, or Manchester City. None of those teams, maybe there was a period where the Carabao Cup was downplayed in terms of importance, and they had the ability to still stay competitive in the Carabao Cup by playing their B team. But when I hear Tottenham fans saying, like, fuck the Champions League, we're not going to win the league, let's go all out for the cup. What I hear them saying is, like, prioritize your first team for the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, and if it comes to it, then dismiss, like, if rest the strong players if you have to for the league game on the weekend, and make sure you play your first team against Sheffield United or whoever, Forest in the cups. I don't think that changes anything, because name me one football club that currently prioritizes the FA Cup over the Premier League. Like, some of the clubs that still play their strongest teams, they might play their best teams for the cup, but they still play their best teams for the Premier League. There's no club out there that sits there and goes, we're going to go all out for the FA Cup this year at the cost of, at the sacrifice of the Premier League, because no owner will tolerate it, because there's no money in the FA Cup. You win 2 million quid for winning the FA Cup. I think you win about 800 grand if you win the Carabao Cup. Finishing top 4 gets you 50 million quid guaranteed. Finishing third, second, and first, you go up in the scale, right? And so it's just natural for owners and for people generally, even the managers, to sit there and think, it's important for us to finish as high as we can in the league, because it generates the money for me to be able to splash the cash on the players that we do want. And even if you go and buy a Fabio Vieira for 25 million quid or whoever else, and they don't work out, then at least you've got some more money behind it to pay for the next mistake, because European football is bankrupt, mate. You know, there's no second market anymore. You can't go to the likes of, like, the 17, 18 teams in Serie A that are not Juve, Inter, or AC Milan and say, do you want to buy my player that I wasted 60 million quid on? Look at Tanguy Ndombele at Tottenham. We can't sell him. There's nowhere we can sell him to that wants to pay even 10 million quid for him, because he's got 200 grand a week salary. And so if you make mistakes in the transfer market, if you can't offload those mistakes, then you need to find a way to generate the revenue to pay for the next mistake. And that always will come from prioritizing the top 4. It's a sucky, shitty situation, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, you know. And I feel like Arsenal and Tottenham, you're always going to do that. You're always going to prioritize qualifying for a competition you're never going to win, because it's the only way you can generate the money to when you go and make the next mistake with your transfer budget.
Do you know what? You said something and you hit the nail on the head, that you should be playing. And this is where I got onto Arsenal. When Arteta put out that squad that he put out against Sporting, I know most of it was a strong team. But just put out your strongest team. Because Ten Hag has come here in a couple of months, has got Man United winning the Carabao, and they're in every competition that they're up for. I don't think they're going to win the league, but they're up there for the FA Cup. And what's he doing? Playing the strongest team available.
Yeah, but he also plays the strongest team the next game as well, right? It's not like he's downplaying the Premier League in order to put the best team out for the
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Because I've seen this manager Arteta put out weaker teams and throwing it the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup that everybody lauded up all of a sudden when Arteta won it, because we finished 8th and 5th. Yeah, just put out stupid teams, get knocked out. Yeah, and then we prioritize top 4. What happened last season? We bottled top 4. So why do the same mistake? Because when I agree with you that if you just prioritize just one competition, well, what happens if that goes sideways?
Exactly.
Go strong in every competition. Yes, players get, if this player gets injured, injuries are going to happen. We haven't prioritized any other competition really than the Premier League. Jesus still got injured. Saliba's got injured. Partey got injured at the start of the season. Do you know what I mean? The injuries are going to happen. Go all out, because you never know.
If you go all out, I think we're on the same point here. If you drop back a little bit for the FA Cup or for the Carabao Cup, even against a weaker team, then Tottenham have seen it happen every single season. We don't get beaten by teams. 90% of the time, we go out of competitions in the last 6 years to a team that we should be smashing, but we don't. It'd be different if we got beaten by Chelsea or you lot or City or Arsenal, whatever. Then it's just a case of, okay, better team wins on the day or whatever. But when you go out and lose to random teams that you shouldn't be, it's a problem. And it's usually because you downplay the side, you deprioritize. If you prioritize everything of equal measure, it's not saying that you have to prioritize the FA Cup ahead of the Premier League, but if you prioritize everything as equal measure, then even if you screw up your next league game as a consequence of prioritizing the Carabao Cup on the Wednesday, you're not out of the Premier League. You've got 38 games, right? So there's always going to be a second chance, but there isn't any second chance in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. If you screw up in the FA Cup by taking that foot off the gas, then you're out. So for me, I think we're both aligned on this. It's not about deprioritizing the league over the cups. It's just about making sure they all have equal priority in the season, because fans matter, and the cups are the way that the fans feel like they are represented and can feel success in the short term.
100%, bro. 100%. Listen, I can't add any more to that. And like he just said, only aiming for one trophy is a small club mentality. Exactly. And this is why I don't accept when Arsenal fans are saying, now we can focus on the league. Okay, cool. We're in the Champions League next season. Most of these players, Arsenal fans want Reece Nelson to stay, Eddie Nketiah to stay, Holding to stay. They want certain players like Vieira to stay. If these men can't compete in the Europa League, what chance have we got in the Champions League? Because otherwise, we're then reverting back to what we had under Arsene Wenger, that it's just about participation, FC. It's not about competing for the Champions League. We just want to compete for it. We just want to be involved. You know, just
do you think you would have beaten, or do you think? Oh, so when it comes back to the mentality thing, do you think part of the reason why you didn't beat Sporting, bearing in mind that your team is far better than theirs, right, and you were at home and it was all to play for, do you think part of the reason why you didn't get it done was because to Sporting it was their biggest night of their lives, and to you guys you didn't take it seriously because it was just around the 16 in the Europa League? And like, otherwise, do you think that next season that you'll do better in the round of 16 against like, let's say you go to PSG and you draw 2-2 in the round of 16 and then you take them back to the Emirates, would you put in a better show? Is it because Arsenal had a little bit of disrespect towards the competition and the opposition on that night? Is that the reason why you struggled?
I think all the fault, well, not all the fault, but most of the fault goes to the fans. This fan base always make excuses. Always. Even before a ball's being kicked, there's always an excuse. And I'm sick and tired of it. It's always, it doesn't matter if we get knocked out. We're going to prioritize the Premier League. The club and the players, they're on social media. They see what the fans are saying. I don't think there's any coincidence that Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, these clubs, they act on what the fans say because the fans demand more. But when your fan base is saying, it's all right. Tottenham, Arsenal, it's all right if you're out of a cup. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Bring a fish to fry. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We got other fish. Don't worry. We got fish. We got sausage. We got ribs. We got everything. Don't worry about it.
True.
What are the players going to feel? It doesn't matter. There's no consequence. Most of the fan reactions after the Sporting game weren't like me calling Edu a filho da puta, vai tomar no cu, filho do palhaço da merda. They weren't saying what I was saying. They weren't cussing him. They was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now we can focus on the league.
Yeah. I saw that. I wasn't sure if that was deflection. If they were like, let's just, I'm going to absorb the banter by saying we didn't care about it anyway, or whether it was genuine.
Absorb the banter. They're too soft. They don't want the banter. Me, I accept it because I know that that's the reality. If someone
you should have won that competition. Like you and Man United should have met in the final or in the semis or whatever. Like that, you two. There's no other team that's going to be out. I think Man United now, unfortunately, I don't know who else is going to compete. But to me, you guys have got enough about you, and you got enough squad depth. You've got so much more squad depth than Tottenham. You should have been able to get past Sporting. And then who did Sporting get in the quarters? Like it was a nobody team, right? It was a nothing outfit. Someone from Eastern Europe, right? There, you should have been able to do it. And the argument that now we can focus on the Premier League, it's an opportunistic excuse. I think nothing.
Do you know what? Do you know what's so funny? That these men say it's a light squad. It's a light cala boca, so via da merda. It's a light squad. It's a light squad. These are grown men. Do you know what I mean? Are they light when in the bedroom with their girl? Is it light as well? No, I'm sick of it, man. About light squad. What do you mean talk about light squad? Your bank account ain't light. So what do you talk about light squad? What's so funny, is when this manager came to Arsenal, do you know what the excuse was? He inherited a mess. With the mess that Unai Emery had, that had bums like Monreal, had all these guys that were washed, David Luiz, all these bums, he was able to get to a final. This manager's been here almost hitting 4 years with his players. Remember when Arsenal fans said he needs his players? This is almost all his players. And you're telling me now that he can't get to a final. So how did Unai Emery get to a final with a whole team that wasn't his and was a shambles by Arsenal fan standards? But I'm sick of these men shaking their bum for this guy. Yeah, I'm done with it, bro. I'm done.
Let me ask you this, right? Let me ask you this. So, if Arsenal win the league, I don't know you that well, mate. So I'm gonna put maybe it's a pressure conversation. I don't want a pressure question. I don't want it to sound.
No, of course, say whatever.
You're obviously Arteta out. You've obviously got a lot of problems, a lot of it personal issues with where the clubs run. If Arsenal win the league, is that a problem for your narrative, right? And if Arsenal don't win the league, and then you finish second, you're out of all the cups. And if Tottenham finish fourth, there ain't no difference between Tottenham's season and Arsenal's season at the end of the day, right? Nobody won nothing, and we're all in the Champions League next year. There's not a big deal or difference. Like, does that galvanize your opinion? Like, are you more motivated by change because you don't like what you're seeing in spite of a relatively progressive season? Or are you more motivated by success right now? Would you rather Arsenal win the league, even if nothing else changed? Arteta stays, Edu stays, nothing really changes, in the background. Or would you rather the kind of chaos that will ensue if Arsenal don't finish top of the league after everything else that's collapsed?
I don't care about winning, no debates. I don't care about being right. All I give a shit about is my club being the best in the world. Not in North London. I couldn't give a crap about North London. I'm talking about the world. I want my club to be the best. I want them to compete for the best. This season, the whole time I've been complaining about Ben White. This season so far has proven me wrong, and I've been happy. I cast Odegaard. This season he's proven me wrong, and I've been happy. Xhaka. Who else? Rob Holding had a decent game against Crystal Palace. We need a bit more performance from him, but I've been happy. Yeah. I don't care about being right. I care about my club winning the league. If we win the league, which is what I want, us to win the league and upholding the standards of why we even moved from Highbury to the Emirates was to compete with Bayern Munich, and we're yet to still do that. Okay. If we win the league, I can get trolled for the whole summer. I don't care. Do you know why? I can be smiling every stream. Do you know why? Because we're flipping champions. I know this is Europa. I know Portugal won the Europa. I'll be like this. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. My club are champions. I couldn't care less. And what I will say is, everyone that called me negative, everyone that called me toxic, everybody that come on the chat and chat absolute crap to me, not the real ones, you lot know who you are, I'll be like, okay, cool. But my standard was so negative. Now that the club's reached my standards, why are you happy? Because my standard was about competing and winning major honours. Yeah.
I hear you, man. I hear you. It's always just it's so interesting when I speak to, like, because obviously I get around the content community of everyone's channels, and I go through the same thing. Like, I'm someone that defends. I don't defend Daniel Levy, but I'm someone that defends against the argument as to why he is. Like, a lot of people say that he's the worst thing since sliced bread. Like, he's a parasite, he's a cancer, and I like to play devil's advocate. I love to debate, and when people present like illogical or irrational arguments, I'll sort of try and tear it down a little bit, but not because I give a shit about Daniel Levy, but because I think it makes good content. But then as a consequence, I get pigeonholed as someone who's like Levy in. And so whenever Tottenham do badly, it's a struggle for me. Whenever Tottenham do well, it's easier for me. But people that are Levy out, when Tottenham do well, it's a struggle for them, but they're happy because Tottenham are winning. But whenever Tottenham lose, they get to fall back on their Levy out argument. So to them, it's like a win-win either way. Either they're celebrating their team succeeding, or they're celebrating their opinion being more relevant. And I just find it fascinating to see how other people feel about that. So you personally would rather Arsenal, obviously it makes sense, but you'd obviously rather Arsenal win as long as it holds up
everything
the
I say is for Arsenal to win, bro.
Yeah,
and the thing is, they want to talk about flip-flops. Arsenal fans want to talk about flip-flops. Hold on. They're talking about, get behind this, get behind that. Why were you judging Fabi Vieira? Everyone was judging Ramsdale. So are you not all flip-flops by your own standard? Because this is the thing. Football is a job. When you get a job, you may pass the interview and everything else like that. You don't keep that job by saying, well, I got the job, didn't I? That's enough. No.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then you need to prove yourself. Because if your numbers ain't matching, if the math ain't mathing, you're getting sacked. And it's the same when I was talking about Ben White last season, wasn't doing it. Odegaard was not doing it in big games. Do you know what I mean? Xhaka was not doing it. So what am I going to say if that is what I'm seeing? Am I going to lie?
No, 100%.
I don't get that pass, and I don't earn millions of pounds. If I go to work tomorrow and only give 50% and underperform, do I keep my job just by saying, well, I passed the interview, I'm part of the company, you should just support me because I'm part of the company? It doesn't
100%.
make any sense.
And the other thing about that north side, right? I get called a flip-flop. Flip-flop's like a common derogative. People get told when you change your mind or when you say things that's different. But you know what? In reality, like, life is like, there's always new information. I don't think of it as flip-flopping. I think of it as having like a flexibility of thought. If you have made your mind up on a situation and doesn't matter what new evidence comes along, like your boy Holding having a shit season last season and this season he's good. So you say, or whoever it might be, you say, all right, this season he's been good. And someone says you're a flip-flop. Then you go, no, I'm saying last season he was shit. This season he ain't. I've got an open mind. I can appreciate what he's doing now, but still hold him accountable for what he did then. So there's no, I don't take being called a flip flop as a bad thing, bro. Like,
well, you know the internet, they try to do it like shady, innit? And I'm like, yo, you better be careful, yeah, because I got my flip flop here. I'll dash it at you, you know? I'll dash it at this camera. You need some Portuguese discipline up in it, because I'm telling you, the internet, they need some people on the internet. I'm telling you, yeah, some of these internet, they need one of these. This is what I would do.
They call me Captain Javiana, man. You know,
That's what I'm talking about, bro. That's what I'm talking about. But listen, we'll get into the next one. We'll quickly go through the next little headlines.
Yeah.
Brahim Diaz coming to Arsenal. What do you make of him? Because you lot obviously got knocked out the Champions League by AC Milan. Were you impressed by him? Do you think he's
man? He was really good, really good. Positionally, he's a little fella. I think he's like 5'7", 5'8". But he's super strong. He can jump as well. Like, you don't think he can jump, but he can jump and compete with our centre backs that are 6'1". His positional play, he's very tricky. He's very combative, bit of a shithousery kind of player as well. I was super impressed with him. And, you know, on the first leg, he was largely the difference against us. I think he scored the goal against us as well. So, like, you know, I don't watch Italian football too much, so I can't comment on what he does week in, week out for AC Milan. But from what I saw over the two legs, he was really, really capable. And and I think he's got all the chops that I see from him that could compete in the Premier League. So for me, if I don't know what he's worth, don't know how much he's going to cost, but certainly someone that's got the stones that I think would help you boys out for sure. What are your thoughts?
For me, nah, not good enough. I want world-class players. We're supposed to be going, you know, if we win the league and then we're in the Champions League, I just feel like I don't think he's that level. I think not to win it. Obviously, he's in it to compete in it, but I don't think he's what we need. I need somebody that's certified going to take Odegaard's place, certified going to take Saka's place. That's what I want, because that's what I feel like is going to breed a better team, a winning team, and a team that's going to be consistent. And I think
you want ready now players, right? Like
now I'm done with this Project Youth. Project Youth is in the leash. Now I'm done with that. I'm done with all that Project Youth bullshit. This ain't a crash. Yeah, this ain't a crash. If I want a crash, I go to my grandma's house in Preston Road in Wembley. That's what I'll do. No, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time.
So who then? So you know what? Would you want Antonio Conte then as your manager? If you want a ready now team, you want a ready now players, you want a coach who's going to do it. If Arteta's no longer your guy or never was your guy, do you want someone like Antonio Conte? And do you want to then give him the keys to the kingdom with Edu or whoever else and say whoever Conte wants? Because Conte wanted ready now players and asked for Perisic. You know who else he asked for? Like, I don't know. This isn't stuff that's in the public domain, but I know people that are like, you know, ITKs or whatever. He was asking the players like Ashley Young, you know, to come in that are 32, 33 that are going to do the job to take Tottenham to the next level. If you want a ready now player, you probably want a ready now manager to be able to ready now them, right? And so is Conte would you want Conte at some point in the future?
If Arteta wins the league, he stays.
Yeah.
If Arteta loses the league, I want him sacked straight away. Okay. Next season, I don't care that we won the league this season. I couldn't care less. Next season, expectation, win the league and the Champions League. One or the other, you still keep your job. Neither, you lose your job, you get sacked. And that is the standard that I have for any manager coming to Arsenal. Because I want the best. I want the best. And I'm sick of, I'm born in 92, bro. I've seen Arsenal at the pinnacle, and I've seen Arsenal be Banter FC. And if we don't want to go down to Banter FC, we need to avoid what Liverpool did. We need to have the foresight to address the areas that need to be addressed. We need to go and get once we hit the level that we're hitting now, we need to go get world-class players. And that's how we're going to maintain it. The reason that Liverpool, and I look at Liverpool as such a good example as how you fall off. Not addressing what you need, not getting the quality that you need, getting too many players in areas that you're already packed out and not addressing the weakness in the squad. And that will happen to Arsenal.
What areas do you need to, in your mind, what areas do you need to pick to find new players for in the summer?
Get rid of Jorginho, not good enough. We need a DM. Get somebody that's better than Xhaka in that position. Odegaard needs a player that's better than him as well. Then we need to go get rotation for Saka. We got good rotation for Martinelli with Trossard. We got a decent rotation with Tierney with Zinchenko. Go get another centre-back because Holding coming in when Saliba's injured isn't good enough. He's a bum. And the only thing he's ever fixed was his hairline. He ain't fixing his football. Ben White, he's great, but at the end of the day, you can always get beat for pace. So you need somebody that's better defensively and a lot faster that won't get beat for pace.
Yeah.
And we need another striker. And that's what we need to do. And if someone says it's too much, well, it's not my problem. That Edu has spunked 2 transfer windows and not went and got what we needed to get. So that's what I want. If doesn't reach the standards, sack him.
So you're saying, so is Declan Rice is your standard? Or not? In your mind, is Declan Rice the guy you want?
But I wouldn't be mad. But another one, just because he's got an English passport, overrated. When you look at Palhinha at Fulham,
Palhinha is insane. Love him.
But when you don't have the right passport, it's passport gang, isn't it? It's passport gang. Yeah. You know, like in the world, like to get into certain countries, not all passports are equal.
Yeah.
And it's like that in British football.
Just what's your homegrown quota at? Like, it's not about the part. The only reason the passport's important is because of the homegrown rule, right? So, are you guys set for your? Maybe you can bring in Palhinha and not Declan Rice if you keep Holding. You know, that's a trade-off maybe because Holding plays. Holding obviously got the passport.
No, he's got to go ASAP. Well, I'll book him the EasyJet flight.
Okay.
To Portugal, to the Norwegian League, Swiss League. No. But like I said, I wouldn't be angry at Declan Rice. I just think he's overhyped and he's going to be overpriced. But at the end of the day,
100 million quid, right? That's most of anyone's budget. I don't care who you are. Like no one can really spend 300 million quid this summer. So if you need 4 players, like you're saying, 5 players, like you're saying, right? And I know we're going to talk about Pepe. He obviously ain't the guy that you don't want him coming back, clearly. So, you know, you need someone that if you need 5 or 6 players, you can't drop 100 million on Declan Rice and get the rest of them all done to the standard that you hold Arsenal to. So if not Declan Rice, then who?
Like I said, Palhinha. Obviously, there's Moses Caicedo. I think he's got a higher ceiling. So roughly the same amount of money, thereabouts. I think he's got a higher ceiling, personally, my opinion. But Declan Rice, I'll be happy. I'd actually think that does show ambition. And I'd go, but I don't want it just to be Declan Rice and then 3 players like Nuntavad or Fabi Vieira or these bums like this that ain't good enough. Then I'll be vexed. Do you know what I mean? But that's personally what I would go for. But yeah.
You know who I think you should go? I think Tottenham should go for him. But I wanted to ask your opinion on him because obviously you're a Portuguese. I didn't know you were Portuguese, but you might know about him. Antonio Silva from Benfica.
Antonio Silva, yeah.
I think that guy is a centre back that I would bite your arm off for. Super fast, right? Super talented, tall, strong, powerful.
I'd give it time.
He's too young, right?
I'd give it time. If I'll be honest with you, when I saw Darwin Núñez go to Liverpool, I said premature. Gonzalo Ramos as well. I don't know if you saw him, the one that did that celebration.
Yeah.
Premature. It's only been his first good season. Antonio Silva. Very young, younger than them lot, and I think he needs a lot more development. And I think sometimes you can hinder a player if you bring them a bit too early, which is why I don't mention him. But very, very, very good prospect. But if you're buying from the Portuguese league, I would wait for at least 2 to 3 good seasons before you go and pay the big money, because you're not going to get him at cut price. But if you can only let bums like Nuntavad come to us for 8 million because they were like, we're not even going to dare put the price up. But this guy, this guy is a Portuguese Usain Bolt. We ain't even trying. You know what I mean? Let's allow it.
Would you go for Ugarte from Sporting?
Who?
Ugarte, Manuel Ugarte, the he's Uruguayan player. He's smashed you lot in the game. He smashed us as well. He got sent off in the second leg, if you remember, at the Emirates. I think he's absolutely. I think he's a monster. Like I look at every team that's doing better than Tottenham, and every one of them has got a monster midfielder. Man United have got Casemiro. You've got Rodri at Man City. You lot have got Thomas Partey, Palhinha. I think he's maybe not that quite the same player, but still a bit of a beast. And Tottenham haven't got that. Like Bentancur ain't that guy. Højbjerg ain't that guy. Bissouma, I don't know really. I don't think he's going to be that guy either. Ollie Skip certainly isn't. I think Tottenham need a ball like an absolute monster who can go in there and crunch people, like shake things up defensively, but also got the technical gift to be able to release the pass with acumen. And I look at that guy Manuel Ugarte from Sporting, and he's only 22. He's got a horrible discipline record. I think he's got like 40 yellow cards in his 2 years or something. It's mad, but I think he's an absolute beast. And just thought, maybe if you're familiar with the Portuguese league, maybe you shed some light on him.
Yeah, get him before the price goes up. This is the thing. It's a catch-22. It's like, do you get them too premature, and they might not be able to adapt? I would get him. I think he's a lot more advanced as a player than Antonio Silva. I think Antonio Silva, if you get him, loan him back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't think he's ready for the Premier League yet?
No.
Okay.
No, wow. It's super mature. He didn't even get a starter for Portugal, which, most of the time in the serious games, he's not a starter for Portugal. Yeah. We get Pereira, that is a CDM starting ahead of him. So I wouldn't really bank on it. I think if you get him now, so the price is not too high and astronomical. But then loan him out. That's what I would do if I was you lot. Kind of like what we did with Saliba, but I felt like Saliba was ready. But kind of like what we did with Saliba.
He's been superb, isn't he? He's part of the success story of your season, really, isn't he?
He's had some mistakes. I'd say Gabriel's had a better season, but Saliba's been really well.
The only time I saw Saliba getting absolutely buried was when was it against Brentford, and he won. Like Saliba lost 12 aerial duels. He didn't win a single aerial duel in that game against Ivan Toney, and then I think that was the stat. It was like the first player in the Premier League ever to face 12 aerial duels and lose every single one of them. And I used that, and I took that as banter and went after some of your Arsenal colleagues or whatever in the community for a couple of weeks.
Don't associate me with them, yeah. Lee, Jez, there's certain man that's my guys. Lee's my guy. Jez is my guy. Those are my guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. Kenny Ken. Don't associate me with some of these payasos, some of these clowns. I don't know them. We're not affiliated.
All right. Well, I don't know Lee. I mean, I know him, but I've never met him. But I won't mention the guys that I do work with. But
I gotta be the Drake. Bitch, you weren't with me shooting in the gym. That some of them, I don't know you. I don't know you. You know what I mean? No. Listen, con calma. Certain guys, they're not my guys, man. I'm telling you that now. But I know what you're saying. But listen, let's get on to Nicolas Pepe. Looks like Arsenal may cash in on him. A very frustrating player. Very frustrating player. I feel like he's got so much talent. I actually think he's apart from Saka, he's our best finisher in terms of our wingers. He's a very good finisher, but his problem is he just does too much. A little bit like Saint Maximin at Newcastle, where he does too many skills, doesn't see the passes being made by the striker or by the number 10, and then he breaks down the counter-attack because he doesn't know how to keep it simple and precise. A little bit like Anthony as well at Man United, that he does a lot of showboating. And in the Premier League, it's fast, it's powerful. You need to just be a lot more direct because the Premier League is fast. A lot of the players are intense. A lot of times, if you hover on the ball too long and you take too long to make a decision, the final pass, to take a shot, all of a sudden that chance gets taken away from you. And that is a frustration that I have with Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal. It's not the talent. It is the discipline. What do you make of Pepe as a Spurs fan?
Well, I don't know what he's done this year. I don't follow the French league. So is it Nice or Lille? Where has he gone to? Nice, is it?
Nice, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done. I'm looking at his stats. I can see he scored a couple of 7 goals or something over there. It looks like 6 goals and 1 assist in 17 games. Look, I always thought he was a good player, but I never really thought he was worth the money. How much you spunked 80 million quid on him, didn't you?
I think wasn't it 72? Something like that.
Okay, so maybe it's in euros.
Almost 72, 75.
An insane amount of money. For
Yeah.
that sort of money, he should be lighting up. He should have been part of the highlight reel every week for his time at Arsenal, and I never really thought he was. I see similarities, not in the style of play, but with your frustrations that you're talking about, his inability to release the pass when he should have done, too many step overs, always trying to be overcomplicating the easy decision, maybe hanging on to the ball and then eventually getting your pocket picked. Reminds me a lot of Sonny this season. Very, very, very frustrating. And look, if Saka's now emerged as your guy on the right and you don't need him back, Pepe was playing on the right, wasn't he, before, like when he was at Arsenal before, right? Was he coming off the right hand side? Yeah. So, for me, I think that if you could sell him and get, I don't know what you'd hope to get for him, but if you can get like 50 million quid for him, then you can reinvest that into something better. But the problem is for me, mate, like I was saying earlier, right? European football is bankrupt, and there's only like 6 or 7 clubs in across Europe that have got money where they can spend that sort of money on a player. And even then, I don't know what sort of salary Pepe was on or is on at Arsenal, but whether or not any of the European clubs are going to want to pay that. And Pepe is probably under no obligation to ever have to accept cutting his salary by half to go and play in France or Germany or Italy or Spain. So it depends on the sort of player, on what his desire is to go and play first team football. But for me, like, I just don't know how easy it's going to be to get rid of him and get enough money back to put it into something else. Doesn't sound to me like you are that bothered about having him back. I've never heard anybody this season tell me they can't wait for Pepe to come back next season. So it seems like it's, similar to some of the mistakes that Tottenham have made, where you spend a lot of money on a big player name. They don't quite work out. You send them out on loan to hope to kind of raise their profile. But ultimately, with European football bankrupt, I don't know where you sell them to. It's a massive problem, mate. Like, that's why the European Super League probably needs to come back in some sort of format, because it's the only way that you can rebalance the kind of the market elsewhere, so that if you do make mistakes with your player purchases, then you have somewhere where you can offload them to. Right now, the only place that you can offload your players to and make your money back is within the Premier League. And who's going to buy Pepe in the Premier League?
I can't debunk any of that. I completely agree with you. It was a mistake, and a really expensive mistake.
What do you want to do with him? Like, is anyone in the Premier League going to take him off your hands?
I don't think anyone's stupid enough.
Right.
Arsenal are going to want to try and recoup as much money as we can, but based off of performances, we're not going to get nowhere close to that. If someone gives me 30 to 40 mil, I'm snapping your hand off. Like I said, I don't dislike the player. I actually think he's a very good player. He just doesn't work within this system. That is the problem. I just don't think he works within this system, and the manager just doesn't trust him. And I get why Arteta doesn't trust him, but at the same time, a lot of people said that Arteta was the reason why Sterling became the player that he could. And I always thought, if you were the reason why Sterling became the player that he was at City, surely you can do that with Pepe. Because you can't say to me that a manager like Arteta was so pivotal in a player's growth like Sterling, but can't do it with Pepe. I actually think technically Pepe is technically better than Sterling. Sterling is the more productive player. Sterling is more direct. Sterling knows what to do in the final third, and he reacts a lot better. But when you actually look at ability, Pepe is a better baller than Sterling. I don't see Sterling, unless Sterling beats you for pace, he ain't gonna take 2 man out the game. I've seen Pepe do that. And this is the thing that people have about players. As soon as a player's he's done. No. When you watch football, you watch football. Pepe reminds me of like Tarat. Reminds me of players like that technically they're excellent, but they don't make the right decisions at the right times in the final third where it counts. 100%. And goals win football. You know what I mean? And that is a frustrating thing about some players. Tarat, Pepe, you're such a good player technically, but why is it that you overdo it? And I've done it in Power League. I've seen players that are like that. They're so good, And they can take 2-3 man out the game.
Selfish, mate. It's selfish, isn't it? It's ego as well. People like to have the ball. I'm sure at the top end, it's the same at the bottom end of football. Right? People, when you get the ball, you think you've got this is the way I can show off. The difference is when you look at people like Sterling. Right. Whilst I think that Sterling will never be, never ever recreate the levels that he had at Liverpool or at Man City, at Chelsea, but ultimately, part of the reason why Chelsea bought Sterling was for the English passport thing, right? For the homegrown thing. Pepe's, what is he, Ivorian Coast or whatever you call it?
Yeah,
Ivory Coast, right? So again, it's not easy for you to offload him and recuperate any of the money that you spent on him. And let's be honest, you spunked on him. He's a good player, but 80 million quid you need to generate and find outcomes, and he hasn't done it. There's a reason why he's out on loan. He's going to come back because ain't no way Nice is going to pay 60 million quid for him. Right? So you either cut your losses, sell him for 20 million quid if someone's going to pay for him. But then, and maybe he goes, but then you're that's a massive write down. I think you've got a problem in Pepe, like Tottenham have with Ndombele. Like, how do you find any way of recuperating your money? Because you haven't got the English homegrown thing, and nobody in Europe can afford to pay the money that you paid and misspent on Pepe.
Facts. And the last one we're going to touch on, big up to Cyborg, big up Northside and the guests, big up. Make sure people as well, don't be a viado, man. Go like and subscribe to Spurs Talk Show. Come on, man. Even if it's just a banter. Like I said, I know you, man, we're Arsenal fans, so we're going to banter. It bigs up his algorithm, puts his channel in front of more people. It's all good, man. YouTube, good feedback or bad feedback, it doesn't matter. Feedback is feedback.
Feedback is feedback, 100%.
Is what it is. So make sure you subscribe to Spurs Talk Show. Now, Arsenal loanee branded unreliable player by Jared. I told these man about this bum, bro. Look at him. Look at this guy.
Who is this? Who is he?
This is Nuno Tavares.
Oh, Tavares. Okay. Yeah.
He's another Romanian. You know what I mean? He's another one. I don't care if he's black. He's Romanian. There's no way. There is no way this guy is trash. Trash, bro. Absolute trash. And the thing is, yeah, you already know what it is with most Arsenal fans. Always twerking. Oh, no, we got to get behind him. Fuck off, man. Is he my cousin? Is he my dad? Now, who is he? Do I even know him? Do you know what I'm saying? These men twerking for him. If he sees you in the range, he's driving past you. You think he's going to stop for you? You know what I mean? Because you want a crusty picture and the side of your mouth is crusty. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't got no lip balm. You ain't got no Vaseline. Fuck off, man. These men don't care about us. Fuck this guy. I'm done with this guy. He can stay over there at Marseille or go back to Benfica. Maybe go to Famalicão, go to Braga, go to Sport, go back to Portugal. I'm done with you. Go to the Portuguese airline tab, book a flight, and fuck off. Because I'm done with this guy. This guy is a bum, bro. I see, more detail. I see better trims from this guy than I see performances. I'm done with this guy. Do you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I got my trim. I went to the barber today, but I turned up for the trim. This guy gets a trim and don't turn up in the game. Fuck this guy. I'm done, man. No, fuck him, man. I don't know this guy. I don't care. He ain't my cousin. I don't know him. We're probably related by 2 countries, probably Angolan like me or Cape Verdean as well. I don't care. We're not claiming him. We're not claiming you. You're from Rwanda. You know what I mean?
You said probably Cape Verde as well.
No. Forget that. God forbid. God forbid. We're not Nani. Nani's Cape Verdean, so we can't put disrespect on it. Nani's Cape Verdean. I know he played for Portugal, but he's Cape Verdean. No, we can't even say that. You know what, Arsenal got visit Rwanda on the sleeve. That's why we put him Tavares. Visit Rwanda. He's from Rwanda, bro. This guy ain't from ban this guy. And big up to all the Rwandans and big up to all the... I'm not talking about the country like that. I'm talking about it in terms of football, So don't get your knickers in a twist. I'm talking about it in football, You know what I mean? Now, I'm Angolan. I'm also Angola. I'm from 3 countries. Angola and Cape Verde, we don't do it because Portugal nick all our best players. It is like England does with Scotland and Ireland.
You're claiming a lot of countries, man. You're like the colours of Tennyson right now. You're claiming everyone.
No, but listen. My mum is Angolan. My mum is half Angolan, half Portuguese. My dad is from Cape Verde. What does that make me?
Yeah, a bit of everything. A little bit of everything.
Do you know what I mean? But when the AFCON comes on, I'm repping Angola. Where's my Angola? My cousin lost it. I got the Cape Verdean flag over there. I'm repping it, but I know we're not winning, innit? Because I know we're not levels like that. So no one get offended. You know what I mean?
No. No
It
one's
is what
defending
it is. Like Ireland, how many good Irish players are playing for England? I swear Declan Rice.
A few. I'm actually, I'm Irish. I'm Irish, but I sound English. My parents are all Irish, so I'm
That's what
representing.
I'm saying. Big up the Irish. I like Irish.
Big up the Irish. Yeah.
Irish people are like white version of black people.
Yeah. 100%.
Big up the Irish, man. I'm drinking Baileys right now as well.
I had a vodka lemonade at the start, but it's now empty. So
that's what I'm saying. Nuno Tavares, he's from Visit Rwanda. That's why we got him, bro. For the merchandise, so the sponsorship. He's shit. There's no way he's Portuguese. He's fucking shit. This guy, yeah, I think you lot had it with Royale. He's better going forward, but defensively leaves a massive gap. Doesn't run back. Doesn't track his man. Isn't good stopping players one-on-one. This guy is lethal. Lethal. I swear down. If I don't see this guy's face, I'm telling you, I'm done, bro. All we've been doing is sponsoring his fucking haircuts, and I'm sick to death of him changing his hair and not changing performances.
How much did you pay for him?
Huh?
How much did you pay for him? Let's have a look. You
paid.
paid.
8 million? Was it 8 million?
You paid. You paid 8 million quid for 8 million euros for him. Yeah. Wow. And now he was on loan. He's on loan from last summer to Marseille. I saw him play against us. I went to the game. He played against us. He was nothing. He was rubbish. He was rubbish. You know. I don't have anything else to say about him though, mate. I don't know. I don't follow the French league, so you know your rant's been spectacular. By the way, I'd absolutely love it. But I don't know what to add apart from look, if you don't like him, it sounds like you don't like him. Then get rid of him.
Listen, if you want a cut price deal, we'll do a cut price deal. Arsenal love to set out the car boot stall outside. Yeah, get all the car boot sale players. Yeah, listen, if you want it, don't worry. And we shop in the car boot. You know what I mean? We got Willian on the car boot. We got Welbeck on the car boot. I'm sick and tired of this shit. Yeah, go get proper play. This is why when we did the next Haaland, I'm sick and tired of that. I'm done with 19 years of these bums, bro. Sonogo, Sendros, all these bums. Shamak. I'm done. I'm up to here. I don't know when these men that watch me were born, but I swear to God, I've seen so many bums at this club. I don't even understand. I don't understand.
Right. Let me ask you this. 2 players. You get to pick 2 players because you can't have everyone. Like you want the real deals right now. Let's say you've got 200 million in the summer, 100 million a pop, or whatever you want to do it. 2 players, your choice. Forget about availability. Just say that it's doable. Who do you want for Arsenal? Who's going to make the most impact in your season next year?
I go Palhinha. I'll go Ivan Toney. And I'll go João Felix. Because João Felix can play the position of Odegaard. Ivan Toney could adequately replace Jesus. I think Palhinha is not a bum like El Nene and is actually capable.
Palhinha is amazing.
Huh?
This is the Fulham Palhinha, right? Not some other Palhinha, because there's a few.
So the Fulham Palhinha. Yeah, the Fulham Palhinha.
Yeah, the Fulham Palhinha. Yeah. All right, that's probably 200 million. I reckon Palhinha is probably 50. I reckon Ivan Toney's probably 60, 70. And then maybe you've got 80, 90 for João Felix. That's your 200 million quid. You think that makes Arsenal? Is that
sign me up, so Filhos da puta, Edu, yeah? Get your flipping P45 and get down to the job seekers, you bum. Yeah, I can do your job better than you, bro. You filho da puta, you hijo de puta de mierda. I'm sick and tired, bro. I'm telling you, I want trophies, armpits in the air. Get Edu the fuck out. Yeah, you remember this? Yeah, this is what I grew up on. Yeah, this. Yeah, before you want to try shit to me. Yeah, have you got that book? I bet you don't. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't got that book. No, I do have the 2006 DVD when Tottenham beat Arsenal 3-1 or something.
Have you seen the Body Power advert, the Tottenham one?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. It's perfectly humiliating. It's perfectly humiliating. That's Tottenham. Always everybody else, the butt of all the jokes.
Before we wrap up, what made you support Tottenham? I'm interested.
My dad, mate. My dad was a Tottenham fan, but you know what? I do remember. I actually called him out for it the other day. I said, "Dad, like, fuck you." By the way, he was like, "What for?" And I was like, "For giving me this lifelong curse of Tottenham." But I remember when I was like 5 years old. I remember it vividly. It's one of my earliest memories. I was wearing an Arsenal shirt, and my dad I was wearing a Tottenham shirt. My brother was wearing a Tottenham shirt, and my uncle essentially was wearing an Arsenal shirt. We were at some sort of family get together. We were playing 2-on-2 in someone's garden, and I was wearing an Arsenal shirt with my uncle, and the other two were wearing my dad and my brother were wearing Tottenham. And that was, and I remember we won the game, and my dad celebrated. Oh, sorry, my uncle celebrated, and my dad come over and took the Arsenal top off me, screwed it up, and went, "That's the last time you're ever wearing an Arsenal shirt, son." And I remember it now, and I was like, "Dad, like, you bastard." Life would have been easier. Life would have been happier.
Nah, that's sticky though. That's sticky. Your dad is Tottenham, and you want to support. Oh, that's there. That's quite. That's
no, but I was 5. I was 5 at the time. But like as soon as then when I was like 7 or 8, my dad bought us a season ticket, and I remember going. And we went to the first game of the season. It was like it was at White Hart Lane, and it was night game, and the lights were on, and we walked out, and Jurgen Klinsmann was at his 94-95 season. Jurgen Klinsmann was signing, and I walked out and was just like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like, it was just an amazing experience. And from then I was like, "All Tottenham." So, I'd never change it, but yeah, I wouldn't have minded had my dad supported like a team that won things. It would have been easier than the pain that I have to go through every year. But I wouldn't change it for the world, mate. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd Tottenham till I die.
Listen, you almost made the right decision. Like DJ Khaled, you smart, you loyal. That's what you needed to be. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That's what you need, bro. You almost got it, man.
Almost got it.
I know Arsenal in your heart. Listen, deep down,
it's there somewhere.
It was political. It was political.
Yeah. It's political, exactly. Listen, I don't want you to plug my name on this channel anymore, because all Tottenham fans are going to see this and hear this and go, "You fraud, Butler! You fraud!"
No, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, at least you're being real. Do you know what I mean? Most people just chat crap. At least you're being real with it. Listen, it is what it is, man. Luckily, my dad was such a bum and such a sperm donor. He wasn't around to pick my club, so I just picked whatever I wanted. You know what I'm saying? So I just picked whatever I wanted. The only team I didn't get a choice to back was Benfica. All my family are Benfica. My mom has to be a pagan and be sporting, but she don't watch football, so we don't really care what she got to say. And it is what it is.
A pagan? Is that like a religious thing?
Like, I said to her, "Why do you support sporting?" And she goes, "I just like the color." I'm like, "Oh, this woman don't care about football." Like, I'm like, why can you not just support Benfica? Like, why do you have to be difficult? You know what I mean? But
green and white, though, it works. Like, it's like a kind of kitchen tablecloth kind of color scheme. I get it. Like, it's all good.
It is what it is, man. Listen, people, yeah. Before we lock off, don't be a filo da puta. Don't make me dash this clip up at the camera. Like and subscribe. Spurs Talk Show. And I will say this, yeah. You've been real with me. I'm gonna be real. Most of the guests I get on this, yeah, are actually Tottenham fans. If it's anybody else, it's Tottenham fans. Tottenham channels will come on my channel more than other Arsenal channels, than this and that. And there are some Chelsea ones are up there as well. I can't lie. Some of them I was going to get on the show, but they've been a bit busy, and big up to them, because there's no shade towards them. But I'm talking about Arsenal fans, yeah? I'm trying to do so many, like, networking and stuff. One thing I will say about Spurs content creators, they're always up to collabing, and big up to you lot for that. You know, I hate your team, I hate your squad, I hate your stadium, I hate your club, I hate everything. But your content creators, I will big up, because you lot are top guys, man. You guys, the Irish Hotspur as well. You, man, you know,
he's my boy.
Collabing and everything. So big up to you lot, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on.
100%, mate. I'd love you to come on my channel soon. I'm going to be doing a little bit more kind of like rival viral stuff as well. So I'd love you to come on, mate. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you for having me, man. Thank you to everyone in the comments who I haven't seen a single person call me out for being a certain type of person or whatever. So I appreciate the respect.
No, man, that's not the kind of. It's
all good.
Familia. This is good. You're good.
Family.
You're good. Here, man.
Yeah, nice.
You're good. Like I said, people, make sure you like and subscribe to Spurs Talk Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And the link to the Spurs Talk Show is in the description of this, in the title of this video. So make sure you click that after you sign out. And without further ado, we're out, caramba. Say.